Fans of UConn basketball were glued to their televisions this weekend to cheer on the team's upset over Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. The win sends the Huskies to another Final Four appearance and the opportunity to bring millions in royalties and revenue to the school. Of course, UConn's players won't get a dime from any tournament largesse because college athletes are barred from getting paid. But that could change after the National Labor Relations Board decided recently that Northwestern University's football players are school employees and eligible to unionize. So far, the ruling applies only to Northwestern, but it could be the first step in what critics say is long overdue, paying college athletes. Here to hash it out are Stalin Collinet, who was a student athlete at Boston College before playing in the NFL, and sports agent Stephen Fryer, who represents professional sports athletes. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Stalin, did you ever feel like you were actually an employee of Boston College?
I can honestly say I did not feel like an employee of Boston College. I felt like a student athlete from freshman year all the way to my fifth year senior, and it was a program that allowed for me to mature and grow within that institution.
Do you think it's changed since you were there?
Totally.
So now you think they are more like employees?
They are. I mean, athletes are. When it comes to this topic, athletes, it's a fine line, but I truly believe that athletes have given so much of themselves that they deserve a piece of that pie.
So where do you stand on this, Steve? The NLRB ruling is going to be appealed. It might even go all the way to the Supreme Court. But are these students de facto employees?
Well, let me start off by saying there's not enough bad things that can happen to the NCAA. and this is one of those classic situations where they have abused the athletes and abused the system so long and so viciously with their unbridled hubris that something was going to come back at them. The concept of unionizing the players sounds nice. In principle, I'm opposed to it because if you look at across the Division I landscape, there may be 30 or 40 schools that make a lot of money, and you've got the high-profile schools like Alabama and so forth. But then you've got an enormous number of Division I, Division II, and Division III schools who not only don't make money, they lose money on it. And the NCAA has enough resources, if they want to take care of this problem themselves. They grossed $872 million of revenue in 2012, and they have reserves of $500 million in the bank. They can cure the problem without having to deal with unionization.
Yeah, I mean, it's a staggering statistic over just the television contract alone is $1.8 billion for men's, 8 billion, football, 7.3 billion. When you look at those kinds of figures, Stalin, you wonder. It's like some say, oh, well, the students are already de facto being paid because most of these guys are on some kind of a scholarship. But you look at that kind of money and you think,
well, that's the baseline, right? The scholarship is the baseline. That's sort of evolved from what it was when I was coming out or when Stephen was coming out of high school. And these players are being more marketed on billboards in their cities, in commercials, on games. I mentioned to Stephen in the green room that when I was coming out, I did make NCAA Game Day part EA Sports, the game. I didn't see any royalties from that. I mean, I'm sure they sold thousands upon thousands and millions of games that year. And all I wanted to do was to be on the game, and work to get there. But I didn't get to see any money from that aspect. But tons of people made money, including NCAA, and they should share some of that wealth. I don't think that they should actually hand out checks to these players, but there should be a system in place where these players do get a piece of the pie above and beyond just your normal room and board tuition.
See, one of the questions is what happens with all the other sports teams? Because there's only a couple of sports that make money, as you well know, football, of course, and basketball. But, I mean, if this money were spread around, you couldn't just pay one group and not the other.
Well, the issue becomes the distribution of the revenue, and I agree with Stellan absolutely. The fact that a top player's shirts are being sold by the college is making all the money, the player isn't. The permutations of unionizing filter down to the smaller schools and the other programs, and it becomes enormously expensive, enormously complex, and we're dealing with a problem that shouldn't be that complex. It should be handled by the NCAA and by the conferences to sit back, have a charter put together to treat the players fairly, to insure them against injury, to take care of the royalty issues, to spread the wealth. It doesn't require unionization.
Do you think they should get some of the money?
Pardon me?
You think they should get some of the money?
Yes, absolutely.
And do you?
Yeah.
I do also. Yeah. I do.
So do I. All right, we're in agreement on that. All right. Sally Cullinane, Stephen Pryor, thanks so much.